All right, we're going to do the voter class assignment. So open up the PDF and look in there. It says we want a first name, a last name, and an ID. So private, remember you always do variables private in a class that are in this location. Private string first name, private string last name, and private int ID. And then here's the trick, and we haven't done this for months and months. It was section 5.7, static variables. You do private static int next ID equals, and I said I wanted the first one to be 1,000. So what that is that ends up being a variable that all the voters share. So we'll add 1 to that after we, every time we create a new voter. So now we're going to make a constructor, public. Remember, constructors always have the same name as the class. So public voter, and it accepts a string first name and a string last name. I'm going to just say first and last since I made my private variables longer. And we say first name equals first, last name equals last. And then what we're going to do is say ID equals next ID, and then we say next ID plus plus. So that takes the current value of that variable and stores it permanently in the object we just created with this first and last name. And then we add 1 to the shared variable so that the next voter will be 1001. And then I tell you we need 2 methods, public int get ID. This is just return ID. That's a accessor method. And then we're going to do a toString, public string toString. And this one we're going to return. I wanted last name, comma, first name, comma, ID. So last name plus comma space plus first name plus comma space plus and ID. I'll stretch this out so that it is all in one line. All right, we can make sure this compiles. It ought to. Nothing will get printed because we didn't add any test code. But I said up in the main method, create and print 2 voters. So voter 1 equals new voter Bobby Hayes, child I never had. Voter 2 equals new voter Frankie Hayes. By the way, I'm not promoting voter fraud here. I'm just making up names to test. And then we're going system.out.println 1 and system.out.println no quotes 2 and system.out.println get ID used on voter 1 plus 1.getID with open and close parens. So that ought to do it. Yep. So that's it. I'll see you soon.